Welcome to Money ID, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. Hello, Money ID family. And welcome back. So today we're doing something a little different. We wanted to put together a list, an honest, maybe uncomfortable list, of things that poor people do which pretty much guarantees their mediocrity. Take all of this with a grain of salt. These aren't here to attack anyone. They're here to make you think. To look at your own habits and ask yourself, is there room for improvement here? Because here's the thing. Every time we make a video like this, some people get offended. And that's fine. But while those people are in the comments telling us how wrong we are, the real ones, the true Money ID family, are quietly writing these down and checking themselves. We talk to mentors, to millionaire friends, people who have actually been on both sides of this divide. And we ask them, what do you actually see, day to day, between how poor people and rich people live? These are their answers, and ours. There are exceptions to everything, we know that. Not everyone controls their circumstances equally. But awareness is still the first step. So here we go. Number 1. Poor people watch a lot of TV. Let me just say it straight. If you have time to sit down on a Tuesday night and watch reality TV, you're probably poor. And that's not meant to sting, it's meant to wake you up a little. It's genuinely shocking how much time gets poured into meaningless television. It grabs you and it doesn't let go. If you know which celebrities are dating each other, if you got shows you follow week to week as the episodes drop, if you have a go-to news channel you tune into every single evening, you're watching too much. And somewhere in that habit is the reason your life looks the way it does right now. Celebrity gossip doesn't add anything to your life. It only adds to theirs. Rich people aren't watching television, they're trying to be on it. And look, we get it. You might say, I just watch something funny to unwind. It helps me decompress. And that's exactly the issue. You're disconnecting from your problems instead of solving them. There's that famous quote, John Lennon saying time you enjoy wasting isn't wasted time. Sure, but be real with yourself. Is staring at a screen for 3 hours every night actually something you enjoy, or is it something you've just fallen into? One more thing on this. Some of you will say the news is different, that staying informed is important. And yes, it is. But TV news channels are built to keep you anxious and watching. They're not built to help you. Use the internet instead. 10 minutes in the morning, get a sense of what's happening, and then get on with building your life. Number 2. Poor people eat fast food. Health is one of the most important assets you own. And a lot of poor people genuinely aren't thinking about it at all. They're regularly putting enormous amounts of sugar, processed fat, and empty calories into their bodies, food with almost no nutritional value, and the cost of that is enormous. Not just physically. If you're not healthy, everything suffers. Your energy, your thinking, your mood, your relationships, your work. All of it. Think about it this way. Your body is the vehicle through which every ambition you've ever had has to travel. If you're fueling it with garbage and refusing to maintain it, how far do you honestly expect to get? The wealthy understand this. They eat well not because it's trendy, but because they've figured out that performance requires proper input. You can't show up sharp in the boardroom, or in a negotiation, or in a creative space, when your brain is running on a large order of fries. Start reading labels. Start cooking more. Treat your body like the high-performance machine it actually is. Number 3. Poor people buy things on sale. Here's an honest, slightly harsh way to say this. The only thing you should ever get excited about buying on sale is stocks. Poor people are constantly trying to conserve what little they have. Rich people are focused on growing what they have. Those are two completely different games. And the clothes on the sale rack. Those are the ones that people who could afford full price already decided they didn't want. So when you're loading up your cart with discounted stuff, you're buying what the wealthy already passed on. Buying on sale feels like being smart with money. It isn't. It's the illusion of saving while you're still spending. And more importantly, it keeps your brain locked onto spending less instead of earning more. Those two mindsets lead to very different places in life. Rich people don't hunt for discounts. They look for value. And when something genuinely offers value, a skill, a course, an investment, they pay full price without flinching, because they understand the return is what matters, not the sticker price. Stop trying to save pennies. Start figuring out how to generate dollars. Number 4. Poor people wake up later than rich people. In their early years especially, poor people tend to be a lot less disciplined about their mornings, and the long-term cost of that one habit is bigger than most people realize. Now, some of you are already annoyed by that, but hear it out. Someone who used their youth to build themselves, to read, to learn, to create, to plan, is dramatically less likely to stay poor later in life. Compare that to the person who sleeps in, drifts through the first hours of the day, avoids anything that resembles self-improvement. At some point that person finds themselves so far behind the curve that catching up feels nearly impossible. And here's the part that really hits: people who don't invest in themselves early tend to end up working harder later, not to get ahead, but just to survive. There's nothing crueler than that. We've studied the routines of some of the most successful people in the world: Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, Oprah. Almost without exception, they wake up early. Not because some book told them to. Because they figured out that the quiet hours of the morning, before the world starts pulling at you, are the most valuable time in the day. Set the alarm 1 hour earlier tomorrow. See what you actually do with that hour. Number 5. Poor people are really into sports. This one is going to bother some people, but stay with it. Unless you're a professional athlete, a team owner, or you work in sports in some capacity, there's really no good reason to be as deeply invested in watching other people compete as most fans are. It's the same mechanism as TV. It's escapism. It's a way of stepping out of your own reality and into someone else's. And the specific problem with sports fandom is this: you have zero impact on the outcome. You can wear the jersey, you can paint your face, you can scream at the television for 3 hours, and nothing changes because of you. Nothing. And over time, that habit seeps into your whole approach to life. You become a spectator. You start living through other people's achievements instead of building your own. And then, almost inevitably, you start criticizing the people who are actually doing something. Because it's a lot easier to critique from the stands than it is to get on the field. That energy you're pouring into someone else's game, bring it inward. Your life is the game worth winning. Number 6. Poor people don't take care of their personal hygiene. Okay. We were skeptical about this one when it first came up. It sounded almost too basic. But it's documented, and when you actually think through the implications, it explains a lot. Most economic activity today runs through service industries. Industries where human contact happens constantly, where trust and likability are currencies. If you don't have good hygiene, people unconsciously pull away from you. They trust you a little less. They want to spend less time with you. They think of you a little less when opportunities come up. Think about the chain. If people are uncomfortable around you, they spend less time with you. Less time means fewer conversations. Fewer conversations means fewer connections. Fewer connections means fewer opportunities. And all of that has real, compounding consequences on your income, your career, and even the kind of partners you attract. It seems like a small thing in the context of a conversation about financial success. It's not. Your personal presentation is the first signal you send every time you walk into a room. Start with an early morning shower. Seriously. Number 7. Poor people blame other people for their situation. How many people do you know who always have an excuse? A reason it's not their fault. Some external force, some person, some circumstance they can point to as the reason they haven't made it yet. Yes, there are things in this world beyond our control. That's real. But the honest answer is that the vast majority of your life, probably around 99% of it, is on you. Your decisions. Your habits. Your reactions. Your choices about who you spend time with and how you spend your hours. Life isn't what happens to you. Life is how you respond to what happens to you. When something bad happens, poor people reach for the victim story. They look outward and find someone to blame. Rich people get curious. They study the situation. They ask what happened, why it happened, what they missed, and what they'd do differently next time. One of those responses keeps you stuck. The other one builds you. Stop being the victim of your own story and start being the author of it. Number 8. Poor people have no savings. The single clearest difference between those who have and those who don't is this: the wealthy are always prepared for what comes next. The poor almost never are. Here's how it plays out. Something goes wrong, a medical bill, a job loss, a car breaks down. If you have savings, you handle it and life goes on. If you don't, you're forced to either sell something you need or take on debt. The crisis passes, but now you're smaller than you were before. Less stable, more exposed. Now flip it. An opportunity shows up, a business deal, a property, something with real upside. The person with savings can move. The person without cannot. They watch from the outside while someone else benefits. And the gap between them grows a little wider. This isn't bad luck. This is a mechanism. It's precisely how wealth compounds for some people and evaporates for others. Pay yourself first. Before any bill, any subscription, any expense, put something aside. Even a small amount. Done consistently over time, that becomes the foundation of real financial freedom. Number 9. Poor people use credit for things that don't generate money. The gap between poor and rich is maybe nowhere more visible than in how each group uses credit. The rule is simple. If you're borrowing money to buy something that won't generate more money than the cost of the loan, don't borrow. That's it. Taking out a loan for a big TV. Don't. Financing a designer outfit. Don't. Putting the latest phone on a credit card the day it drops. Don't, unless you're building a business on that phone or flipping that outfit for profit. In which case, it's an investment. In all other cases, it's a liability that looks like a reward. Here's the real thing. Poor people use credit to simulate wealth. They buy the things that wealth looks like, the gadgets, the clothes, the trips, before they have any actual financial foundation under them. And in doing so, they lock themselves into payments and interest rates that make it nearly impossible to ever build real wealth. Earn it. Then spend it. In that order. Number 10. Poor people tend to have more children, and earlier. This one requires a little sensitivity, but it needs to be said. Children are expensive. In a developed country, raising one child to adulthood costs around $250,000, and that's a conservative estimate, not including higher education or the opportunity cost to the parent. Because of limited education, cultural factors, and lack of long-term planning, poor people on average have more children, and have them younger, than their wealthier counterparts. Wealthier people tend to wait. Not always out of cold calculation, but because they understand that timing matters. That bringing a child into a stable, prepared environment gives the child, and them, a genuinely better shot. When a baby arrives before the financial foundation is in place, every resource immediately redirects toward survival. All the energy, money, and focus that could have gone toward building something, it goes toward just staying afloat. And the window for doing anything beyond that gets very, very narrow. This isn't a judgment on how much someone loves their kids. It's about preparation, timing, and the kind of planning that changes family trajectories for generations. Number 11. Poor people don't get regular medical checkups. We've talked about health already, but this specific habit is worth its own moment, because it's one of the quietest and most destructive things on this list. Poor people tend to wait. They wait until something is visibly wrong. Until the pain won't go away. Until ignoring it isn't an option anymore. And by then, what could have been caught early is often far more serious, far more costly, and far more devastating. Think about it simply. If something is developing in your body, an illness, a condition, and you catch it in the early stages, treatment is typically straightforward and relatively affordable. If you've been avoiding the doctor for years and it finally surfaces, you might be looking at aggressive treatment, significant expense, and consequences that affect not just you but everyone who depends on you. Health and wealth are linked. Neglect one long enough and it destroys the other. Schedule the checkup. It's not an expense. It's an investment in the most important thing you own. Number 12. Poor people spend money before they have it. This is one of the most dangerous financial patterns a person can fall into, and it's shockingly common. The moment you start spending money you haven't earned yet, borrowing against a future paycheck, financing things before you can pay for them, your financial life starts to slide. Every single month, you're starting from behind. Every month, you're paying for last month instead of saving for next year. Here's a clean test. If something costs money and you can't pay for it without affecting your ability to cover your actual necessities, you cannot afford it. Not, you can't afford it right now. You cannot afford it, period. Don't buy it. Don't put it on a card. Don't tell yourself you'll sort it out next month. Go back. Do the work. Earn the money. Then make the purchase. Earn, save, spend. That's the sequence that builds wealth. Spend, borrow, scramble. That's the sequence that builds a really exhausting, stressful life. Number 13. Poor people surround themselves with other poor people. You've probably heard this before, but it's worth saying again because it's genuinely true. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If 4 of those 5 are poor in mindset, in habit, in ambition, well, you see where this goes. One of the most subtle ways people stay poor is by surrounding themselves with others who reinforce the same beliefs, the same ceilings, the same way of looking at the world. It doesn't feel harmful. It feels comfortable. It feels like loyalty. But comfort and loyalty to a shrinking circle can quietly cost you everything. You need people around you who are doing things that inspire you, who push the edges of what you think is possible, who make you a little uncomfortable because their standards are higher than yours currently are. If you're still spending most of your time with the same people you knew in high school, having the same conversations, doing the same things, ask yourself honestly if that environment is growing you or just keeping you company. Step away from the crowd if the crowd isn't moving. Because if you don't, there's a real chance they'll pull you back, not out of malice, but because your growth makes their comfort harder to justify. Upgrade your circle. Your life will follow. Number 14. Poor people don't follow through on their ideas. You can't control who your parents are. You can't control where you were born, what resources were handed to you, or how your first chapters were written. What you can control, fully, completely, no asterisks, is how many hours you pour into your dream. Every person alive gets 24 hours a day. The broke and the billionaire. The resigned and the relentless. All of them get 1,440 minutes. The difference is what gets done inside those minutes. There's a saying that the graveyard is the richest place on earth. Full of inventions never built, books never written, businesses never launched, songs that never made it out of someone's head. Not because those people weren't talented, but because they never followed through. You've heard that 9 out of 10 businesses fail in their first few years. Scary number. But here's one scarier: 100% of businesses that never get started also fail. Every single one. The businesses that die before they even exist are the most common failure of all, and nobody counts them. If you have an idea, work on it. Put something out. Get feedback. Improve it. Put it out again. Sometimes it takes years of consistent work before anything even looks like it's working. That's how it goes. The world doesn't reward the idea. It rewards the execution. Number 15. Poor people believe someone else should carry them to the top. The world doesn't owe you anything. Nobody does. And I know that sounds harsh, but sit with it for a second, because there's something freeing in it too. You are in this by yourself. You are the person responsible for what happens in your life. Everyone starts out believing they'll be successful. And then reality shows up. The work is harder than you thought. It takes longer than you expected. Things don't go according to plan. And right there, right at that exact junction between the dream and the difficulty, most people stop. And they start waiting. Waiting to be discovered, rescued, mentored into success, given a chance. That person isn't coming. This world rewards the relentless. The ones who keep learning, keep adapting, keep going when it makes very little logical sense to keep going. The ones who have truly internalized that nobody is coming to solve it for them. And here's the thing, along the way, you will find people. People on the same path, with the same values, who'll walk parts of the road with you. That's real. That happens. But the ownership, that stays with you. Permanently. Without exception. And look, we know this was a long one. But if even one of these 15 things landed for you, if one of them made you pause and think, yeah, that's me, and I need to change it, then every minute of this was worth it. If someone in your life needs to hear this, share it with them. Sometimes an honest conversation is the thing that shifts everything. We'd love to know, what would you add to this list? What do you notice, in your own experience, that separates people who are genuinely building something from people who are standing still? Drop it in the comments. We read them. Oh, you're still here. Good. That means you're one of the real ones. Here's your bonus. Poor people tend to be significantly more religious than rich people. And can you imagine if we'd opened with that? Statistically, the most successful people in the world tend to rely on themselves, on their own judgment, their own effort, their own ability to figure things out. The poor, statistically, are more likely to hold a passive relationship with their own future. To believe that if they are good enough, faithful enough, patient enough, something outside them will come through. Even leaders who mention God in their speeches are making decisions based on data, strategy, and hard choices behind closed doors. Mark Zuckerberg, for most of his life, was openly atheist. He only started adjusting his public stance recently, when political ambitions entered the picture. We're not here to tell you what to believe. That's your business. What we are saying is this: take ownership of your time, your choices, your health, your money, your future, because nobody is more invested in your outcome than you are. Own it accordingly.